Growing up, I always loved stories. Whether in books, movies, or just conversation, stories helped me see the world from other people's perspectives. But I learned that you can only share in someone else's story as much as they let you. And this realization helped me discover that when introducing myself, I had been leaving out a critical part of my story, of my identity, because I felt like it didn't fit with the rest of my life. So today, I'm here to tell my whole story. Hi, I'm a practicing Catholic, and I'm gay. From the very beginning, I knew these two parts of myself would conflict, so I tried to deal with each one on its own. My faith wasn't that difficult to deal with, because it was all I had ever known. Catholicism helped me form the basis of some of my healthiest friendships, and it has held my family together during situations that seemed determined to tear us apart. My sexuality was a bit more of a challenge, because I had been raised to believe that it was wrong. But after a lot of internal reflection, I learned to love that part of myself as well. But even after I accepted my sexuality, I felt like these two parts of my life were two circles in a Venn diagram that didn't overlap. A Venn diagram is supposed to show the parts of two groups that are shared, but in my life, I felt like there weren't any. I felt that somehow I could never be truly gay because of my faith, and I could never be truly Catholic because of my sexuality. You see, people in the queer community tend to be a little put off by religious people, to say the least, and many Catholics believe that gay people will go to hell, even though that's not what the church teaches. I wanted to share my true self with the people around me, but I was worried that because a few people in these communities held these beliefs, that everyone felt the same way. And this fear possessed me for so long that I felt forced to deny part of myself for the sake of the other half. I felt trapped and miserable because in this double life, I wasn't living fully in both circles. I was torn apart with half of myself in each. Perhaps the most painful part of this separation was that I felt that I had no way out. Many people would have just left the church, but for me, the church has always been so intricately tied to my family that I didn't see leaving as an option. So how did I deal with it? Well, at first, I didn't. Because I felt like these two worlds couldn't exist together, I attempted to suppress one of them, and my sexuality lost out. I didn't come out to any of my Catholic friends because I thought that if I shared this part of me with them, then they would reject me completely. I felt torn between living a lie and possibly losing my closest friends, and I was miserable. I refused to let these two worlds overlap until I finally worked up the courage to come out to my best friend. Now, admittedly, a straight, ultra-conservative Catholic frat guy is not the kind of person most people want to come out to for the first time, and I was no exception. I remember my hands shaking and my heart racing as I finally told him the truth, but I've never had a more freeing or uplifting experience. He completely accepted me for who I was, and immediately responded with, "It's still you." He assured me that the only change in our relationship would be a positive one, and his words have stuck with me as a reminder that even a small overlap in the Venn diagram is way better than either half could ever be on its own. Since then, I've continued to come out to many of my friends and family, including my Catholic friends, and the response has been overwhelmingly supportive. It turns out that there are many people in the church who face my same struggle, and they lead just as holy and spiritual lives as even the straightest Catholics I know. This is not to dismiss that many people see the church as a place of antagonism toward gay people. In many cases, that stereotype might be true, but it's also actively being fought. The Catechism says that gay people must be accepted with respect, compassion, and sensitivity, and every sign of unjust discrimination in their regard should be avoided. And while the church's teachings are unlikely to change, attitudes within the church already are. Pope Francis encourages all Catholics to treat people in the LGBT community with kindness and respect. More recently, he offered financial support to a small transgender community near Rome and reached out to a Carmelite nun who helps trans people in her community in Argentina, telling her, "God will repay you abundantly for the work you have done." I'm not saying that everyone has a coming out experience that is all, rainbows, but I can tell you that the happiness and serenity in my life increase exponentially every time I tell a close friend about my sexuality, especially my Catholic friends. They've supported me and reminded me that anyone who loves you less because of your sexuality probably didn't love you in the first place. That's because your sexuality doesn't define your entire person. Your friends love you for who you are, not for your sexual orientation. So opening yourself up to people in this way only gives them the opportunity to love you more fully. And it's this act of loving your neighbor that the church has always encouraged. Sharing my story with others has allowed me to be a healthier and happier person and to foster better relationships, but I understand that it doesn't work that way for everyone. Because even after having such a positive coming out experience, my life has not been easy. There are times when I still struggle to reconcile my faith and my sexuality, but I've learned that it's during those times that it's most helpful to ask God for help and to be completely honest with your friends. So even if you feel like there are a few pages or even chapters of your story that were never meant to be read, I can almost guarantee that those are the most important parts of yourself to share. Whatever you're struggling with, you'll find people who will love you and support you in the most unexpected places. And the best way to start searching is to share your whole story.